Hi, and welcome to the MVAC lab. I'm research intern Cindy Kocik. We often talk about excavations at archaeological sites or about how certain artifacts came from a particular site. But how do we find sites in the first place? And what do we do to treat them properly once we know they're there? A variety of considerations go into finding and reporting sites, but we'll cover the major ones here. Use the timestamps in the description box to jump to a specific section. Where we decide to look for sites depends on our research questions, the nature of the land, available resources, and who owns the land. In cultural resource management, or CRM, archaeologists work with agencies, municipalities, and other project planners as part of the environmental review for a specific project. So, the project area depends on the nature of the work and the physical setting, such as where construction will take place for a new road. Whether searching for sites as part of a CRM project or for academic research, the first step is to see if a site has been reported in the location we're focusing on. This helps us to know what to expect in the field. We search a statewide database of previously reported sites and areas that have already been surveyed. In addition, we often study aerial photos, topographic maps, soils information, and LiDAR imagery to understand the landforms. Archival material, such as local histories, old maps, and newspaper articles, can be helpful as well. And predictive models that combine data on previously recorded sites and where they were found on the landscape can provide an idea of where people are likely to have lived and guide us as we decide where to look for sites. Sometimes we survey areas where we don't expect to find sites, as well as areas where we do. This way, we make sure we're not biasing our results by just looking in and finding sites in high probability areas. Sometimes a person finds a site accidentally. For example, a farmer might uncover artifacts in a plowed field or see them eroding from a stream bank on their property. In cases like this, the landowner can contact the State Historic Preservation Office, also known as the SHPO, or archaeologists at a university or museum who know how to coordinate with the SHPO to make sure the site is recorded. With the landowner's consent, archaeologists might perform a formal survey to better understand the extent of the site, the type of site, like a lithic scatter or village, and the time period represented. When planning and carrying out any survey, we follow all applicable federal, state, and local laws, as well as guidelines on ethics and stewardship. Before going into the field, we make sure to have the proper permits for work on federal, tribal, and state or other public lands, and we get permission from private landowners. Permits are required for anyone to collect artifacts on federal or tribal land or from along navigable waters. In Wisconsin and many other states, permits are also necessary to collect on state or local public land. You can find out more about archaeological stewardship on the MVAC website. Just follow the link in the description box. When planning and performing a survey, field conditions also play a role. For example, we generally don't perform surveys when the ground is frozen or if snow would obstruct the view of normally visible ground surface. We consider whether the area is safe and how easy or difficult it is to get to as well. For instance, it might be best to access areas along a lakeshore by boat, or a construction site might require hard hats in addition to the safety vests we normally wear for visibility. The results of background research and the field conditions in the project area guide our decisions on where and how to look for sites. Field surveys typically use one or more key methods to look for evidence of archaeological sites. Regardless of the method, we also look for disturbance from modern activities or evidence of natural processes like erosion and sedimentation that could have destroyed or covered up sites. In areas with high surface visibility, like a plowed agricultural field, an important way to find sites is pedestrian survey, or walkover. We carefully scan the ground for artifacts and features as we walk along. An ideal time to do this is after a recent rainfall, when objects on the ground have been washed of loose soil and are more visible. We normally walk in lines or transects set at close intervals. In an area without previously recorded sites, we might walk about 15 meters or 50 feet apart. If there are known sites in the area, or predictive models suggest a high probability for them, we might reduce the interval to 5 meters or about 15 feet. Another survey method that relies on looking at exposed ground is stream bank inspection. We scan the eroded banks of current or former waterways to find artifacts and features, as well as to get a vertical view of soil profiles. In areas where vegetation covers the ground, like woods or pasture, shovel testing is the primary survey method. We use a spade shovel to dig small holes in rows at set intervals, usually 15 meters, the same as with pedestrian survey. We screen the soil through 1/4-inch hardware mesh to find artifacts, and we examine the soil for evidence of features or past human activity and modern disturbance. You can watch the MVAC video on shovel testing for more information. Even if we don't find anything, records of the survey aid future researchers and contribute to models for predicting where to expect sites. We use different means to document the area we investigated, the methods we used, and what we encountered, including thorough field notes, photos, sketch maps, air photos from sources like Google Earth, topographic maps, and GPS waypoints for detailed locations of sites and artifacts. We keep artifacts from non-adjoining areas and different knolls, rises, and other landforms separate in the field, since we're not sure yet if different people occupied them at different times. Further study can help explore if and how they are related. We don't just stop after documenting a site for our own records, though. Other archaeologists need to know about it, whether for future management needs or future study. We typically report the site to the appropriate State Historic Preservation Office. In Wisconsin, that office is at the Wisconsin Historical Society, or WHS. We send them a digital topographic map with the approximate site boundaries, so they can verify that they don't already have a site recorded at that location. Then, we can submit the site details online. Important information includes the county and municipality, the township, range, and section, and a good verbal description of the general location and the site itself. Other information includes how the site was found and by whom, what was found, the site dimensions, the site type or types if known, and the cultural affiliation or affiliations if known. The WHS retains site records for posterity, including information on any work done after the site is recorded. It also maintains an online database that authorized researchers can access. Site information, especially location, is sensitive, so it's kept confidential to protect the site from vandalism or disturbance and for the sake of the landowner. Depending on the nature and location of the site, we also work with culturally affiliated indigenous groups and tribal historic preservation offices to make sure the location is treated appropriately. We also share the overall results of the survey in timely and appropriate ways. We write a report that covers the project background, context, and field methods, and send it to the appropriate agency if needed for environmental review. We might share the results and how they contribute to wider research with other archaeologists through articles published in journals and presentations at conferences, including posters. Some projects are highly visible to the public or directly involve participants from the community, like a public field survey. In those cases, we might share pertinent information through public talks, local news media, and online outreach to keep the public informed and to share with avocational archaeologists. Once our work is complete, we securely store any artifacts and records and properly curate them for the future. Artifact repositories strive to care for physical and digital items in perpetuity. That means forever, including making arrangements if the repository has to close. Background research, project parameters, and different survey methods all play into where we look for and how we find archaeological sites. When we do find them, we record and report them to make sure they are treated ethically and that appropriate groups and individuals, such as agency planners and interested Native nations, know about them. Whether a new site is investigated further or not, and how, depends on factors such as the needs and goals of the parties involved, the nature of the project, the potential to answer research questions, and available time and resources. But proper recording and reporting provide crucial first steps in the stewardship of archaeological sites. For more information, see the description box. And to further explore archaeological topics, find links to MVAC's social media, and view and subscribe to our monthly e-news, check out the MVAC website. You can also donate online to support MVAC's work, including our videos. Thanks for watching.